Welcome to Force Talk, a Star Wars show talking about anything Star Wars. May the Force be with you, my Padawan learners. Why doesn't Emperor Palpatine get credit as one of the best villains of all time? Is it because he's only really in one of the original trilogy movies? Is it because he's overshadowed by Vader? Let's just look at his resume for a moment here, okay? Let's pretend he's at a job interview for the Star Wars equivalent of hell.
I worked my way through the Galactic Senate while simultaneously training to be a Sith Master. I murdered my master to become the true Sith Lord. I manipulated the Chosen One into becoming my young apprentice. I orchestrated the extinction of the Jedi Knights, including the younglings. And I was Emperor of the Galaxy for 20-something odd years.
Seriously, the guy's body of work speaks for itself. But I want to focus on one point in particular, which is the fact that a lot of people would probably say he's overshadowed by Vader. But is he really outshined in the actual films? Because he steals every scene he's in. And to outshine possibly the greatest villain of all time in Darth Vader is an unfathomable achievement, but he does it. Ignoring his little hologram appearance in The Empire Strikes Back, let's look at his work in Return of the Jedi. Like many villains, he has a small scene in the beginning of the film to set his character up for later, and his entrance is badass. Because of the epic journey of A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back, you almost forget that behind the Empire is the Emperor. And in his opening scene, watching Moff Gerard's reaction when Vader tells him that the Emperor himself is coming in person is amazing. Let's look at Moff Gerard's reaction when he's about to see and greet Vader. He is understandably very nervous and uncomfortable to meet Vader. But then look at his reaction when he finds out that the Emperor is coming.
Then perhaps you can tell him when he arrives.
The Emperor's coming here?
Rise, my friend.
That's completely badass. The Emperor is set up so well. You can see that everyone, including Vader, is completely subservient to any request he has. You can see the power that he possesses just by one shot. Vader is one of the greatest villains of all time, but even he is just sort of a general of sorts. You can see in A New Hope that Tarkin tells him to release his force choke on Admiral Modi, and he listens. I mean, as powerful as he is, he doesn't garner that same fear and respect that the Emperor does, and that's really saying something. But as great as the setup is for Emperor Palpatine, you need that setup to translate into great character moments during the climax for your villain. There's plenty of examples where a villain has a great introduction, but then just sort of fizzles away towards the end and isn't the same character. The recent James Bond film Spectre was a great example of this. Blofeld's introduction was incredible, but then when you see him later on, he's not nearly as menacing or powerful. But Palpatine's scenes at the end of Return of the Jedi are some of the best, if not the best, scenes in the entire Star Wars saga. From the moment Palpatine does his epic, evil, slow turn in his throne room chair, his dialogue and line delivery is incredible. You can see him just taunting Luke, telling him how pitiful he finds the rebellion, that they have no chance of winning, and he's not just doing it to make Luke angry. Obviously, that's a part of it. He's trying to get Luke to channel his anger and join the dark side, but you can see, Palpatine literally finds the rebellion pathetic. Yes, the rebellion did blow up the Death Star in A New Hope, but you can tell Palpatine just sees that as a lucky shot, a design oversight. He really thinks that the rebellion is just this annoying mosquito that he's about to squash for good. You can tell he has so much confidence in himself, and Luke tells him as much.
Your overconfidence is your weakness.
Your faith in your friends is yours.
I love that reaction. You can tell that Palpatine is equally amused and disgusted at the same time. He's just thinking like, You just wait and see what's about to happen, you foolish boy. And that's the amazing thing about Palpatine. He doesn't have friends or any compassion. He's true evil. He's all about power. You can see him looking at Luke just disgusted at his waste of power. He sees a young Anakin Skywalker in him, and he really wants to turn him. He feels like he's just wasting away his destiny. And once Luke and Vader start fighting, you can just see the delight on Palpatine's face. He's just cackling in the background, watching his evil plan come to fruition. He's getting Luke to replace Vader as his apprentice, which is true to the rule of two, which is the Sith ideals. There's one to embody the power, and the other to crave it. And that's an amazing trait for a villain, is someone who just enjoys being evil. And you can see when he shoots the lightning out of his hands, he's just having the time of his life. That must have been an amazing moment in theaters. Because you think about it, no one knew that you could shoot lightning out of your hands. You knew about the Force, there was some levitation aspects to it, some mental aspects to it, but when you see Palpatine just unleash hell on Luke, that must have just been shocking and amazing to watch. And during that moment, you can see the anger that gives Palpatine his power behind his eyes. But at the same time, he's almost enjoying himself. He's getting a high from it. He channels that anger and just uses it to feed on his power. He's getting stronger almost as he tortures Luke. Now, naysayers might say the way Palpatine goes out is a little lame, but I've always loved the way he dies. He had one weakness: overconfidence. He never thought in a million years that the light side could be more powerful than the dark side, and he was wrong. Now, I'd much rather have an amazing villain go out because of a character flaw as opposed to some lazy plot device. So many movies will introduce this last second magical miracle that gets rid of the villain, like, oh, didn't you know Siths can't handle cold temperatures? It's stupid. Way too many movies do it, and it's just so lazy. It's always a spell or some artifact, and that's the only way to get rid of the villain. It's much more satisfying to see the villain go out because of their own mistakes. I haven't even mentioned Palpatine in the prequels. I feel like a lot of people kind of forget that he's even in them because a lot of people don't like the prequels. And you know what? The scenes he's in the prequels are some of the only ones with any substance. You can at least see how he's trying to scheme his way to the political top, how he's trying to manipulate Anakin at the same time. Even if it wasn't executed that well, you can at least see that there's something going on, where a lot of the other times there's no heart and soul in any of the dialogue. And Palpatine's actually in what I think is the best scene of the prequels at the opera when he's talking to Anakin about Darth Plagueis the Wise.
It's ironic. He could save others from death, but not himself.
You get that same sense of just reveling in evil in this scene. And this is Ian McDiarmid playing this character 16 years later. Imagine playing one of the all-time greatest villains, and then playing a younger version of that same character 16 years later. Ian McDiarmid's role as Emperor Palpatine, in my opinion, is one of the most criminally underrated performances of all time. Now, I get why Vader has overshadowed Palpatine. He's got the look, he's got the voice, he's Luke's dad. There's a lot more going for him, but I guess the point of this video is why can't you have two iconic villains in the same movie? Because Star Wars absolutely does. Palpatine is everything you want in a villain. He's evil, merciless, calculative, and most importantly, very powerful. And I just hope as more and more Star Wars movies come out, he's remembered as one of the best villains of all time. So what do you guys think? Am I overselling Palpatine? Why hasn't he been talked about as one of the greatest villains of all time? Is there just too much overshadowing him in the Star Wars universe? Whatever you think, comment below and let me know. Thanks for watching this episode of Force Talk, and until next time, see you later.